You are standing on a narrow scaffold, suspended beneath a massive steel bridge in the United States. Beneath your feet, traffic flows non-stop, the cars looking like tiny toys racing along the highway. The wind hits so hard that the protective tarps ripple in waves, while your safety harness pulls tight around your body. In front of you is not an ordinary wall, but rusted steel that has endured years of rain, snow, road salt, and time. On your back is heavy equipment, on your face is a respirator, and in your hands is a high-pressure paint sprayer. One wrong step, one loose clip, or one sudden gust of wind is enough to make your heart stop for a few seconds. But for bridge painters, this is not a scene from an action movie. This is just another normal day at work, hanging in the open air to protect the bridges millions of people cross every single day. When people hear the term bridge painter, many imagine someone holding a brush, climbing onto a bridge, and simply repainting the old color. But if it were that simple, the job would not require safety harnesses, respirators, and strict training programs. In reality, they are working on the steel skeleton of the bridge, where rust can quietly eat its way deep into the structure. The coating here is not meant to make the bridge look better in travel photos. It works more like armor, protecting the steel from rain, snow, road salt, sea air, and decades of harsh weather. Before the new color ever appears, the worker has to scrape, grind, sandblast, and strip away old layers that have clung to the bridge for years. And sometimes, what they are removing is not just peeling paint, but toxic dust from bridges built a very long time ago. Before a bridge can receive a fresh coat of paint, workers have to do the most dangerous part: remove the old coating. These are not a few loose flakes that can be peeled off by hand. On aging steel bridges, old paint can cling tightly through decades of rain, snow, heat, and ocean wind. Workers must use grinders, wire brushes, industrial scrapers, or high-pressure sandblasting systems to bring the surface back almost to bare steel. When the tools hit the bridge beams, rust dust, paint chips, and tiny metal fragments start flying through the air. On older bridges, the coating being stripped away can sometimes contain lead or other toxic chemicals. That means they are not only working at terrifying heights, but also facing a danger that is almost invisible in the air. With the wrong protection, toxic dust can enter the lungs, cling to clothing, or fall into the environment below. That is why the work area is often sealed inside containment tarps, like a temporary room hanging beneath the bridge. Inside, machines roar, thick dust blocks the light, and the worker still has to keep a steady hand on every inch of rusted steel. Once the old coating starts coming off, the next challenge is the place where they have to stand. For a bridge painter, the ground is usually not beneath their feet, but far below them. They may stand on suspended scaffolds, narrow work platforms, or metal stages anchored to the body of the bridge. Look down, and you might see water, a highway, or cars moving constantly below. Every workday begins with checking the harness, clips, anchor points, temporary guardrails, and emergency exits. No detail can be treated lightly, because one small mistake at height can turn into a disaster. Wind is their silent enemy, because it can shake the scaffold, push the spray pattern off course, and throw the body off balance. Meanwhile, the worker still has to hold the machine, maintain position, inspect the steel surface, and move very slowly through a tight space. Some spots under a bridge are so dark, loud, and shaky that just a few minutes there can make a beginner tense up completely. That is why bridge painters need more than painting skills. They need strong nerves, solid physical endurance, and absolute calm while working in open air. One of the least known parts of being a bridge painter is that they cannot simply scrape off old paint and let the dust fall freely below. If the bridge crosses a river, paint dust can fall into the water. If it spans a highway, it can fall onto moving vehicles. So before the work begins, they have to build a massive containment system around the area being treated. You can imagine it as an industrial tent made of thick tarp, suspended beneath the bridge structure. Its job is to trap rust dust, old paint chips, chemicals, and tiny metal particles before they spread into the environment. But that tent also turns the work zone into a sealed, hot, dark, loud, and high-pressure space. Inside, the light is partly blocked, air compressors roar non-stop, and fine dust hangs in every beam of light. Workers have to wear full protective gear, use respirators, and move carefully among cables, air hoses, machinery, and steel beams. From the outside, all you see is a gray mass of tarp hanging under the bridge. But inside, it is an entire dangerous construction site operating in midair. After the steel has been cleaned, many people think the hardest part is over. But for bridge painters, this is when they begin building the bridge's real line of defense. The first coat is not for appearance, it is designed to bond tightly to the steel and stop rust from coming back. Then come thicker protective layers that help resist water, road salt, moisture, and extreme weather. Each layer has to be sprayed at the right thickness, the right temperature, the right humidity, and with the right drying time. If the coating is too thin, water can creep into tiny gaps and start destroying the steel from the inside. If the coating is too thick or sprayed incorrectly, it can crack, peel, or fail to adhere to the bridge surface. So the worker is not just holding a paint sprayer, they are controlling a protection system worth millions of dollars. Every pass of the spray has to be even, strong, and precise, because behind it is the lifespan of the entire bridge. In this trade, paint is not decoration, it is armor that helps the bridge survive for many more years. What makes bridge painting even harsher is that workers almost never do it in comfortable conditions. In summer, the steel surface absorbs heat like a giant frying pan, while inside the containment tarps it becomes hot and airless, like a room with no windows. Every breath has to pass through a respirator, while sweat soaks into protective clothing, gloves, and safety boots. In winter, wind on the bridge can be brutally cold, cutting through every gap in the steel and making the hands stiff. If the bridge is near the ocean, salt in the air makes the steel corrode faster and turns maintenance into an even more urgent job. If the bridge spans a highway, the sound of trucks, air compressors, and metal grinding equipment blends into one heavy noise that lasts all day. Fine dust can cling to the mask, safety goggles, clothing, and every piece of equipment around them. In that environment, the worker still has to see each section of steel clearly, keep their hands steady, and apply every layer with precision. This is not an environment for someone who loses focus easily. It demands endurance, discipline, and the ability to handle pressure that not everyone has. Every day, thousands of people drive across steel bridges without ever thinking about what has happened underneath them. They only see the road surface, the guardrails, the signs, and the line of vehicles moving forward. But beneath that concrete and steel, workers have once hung in wind, dust, and noise to keep the bridge from rotting away over time. When bridge painters do their job well, almost no one notices they exist. There is no applause, no spotlight, and no one pulling over just to say thank you. But the coating they apply today can help the bridge withstand years of storms, freezing snow, and corrosive salt air. They are not just protecting steel. They are protecting families, drivers, school buses, and millions of safe trips every single day. With all those dangers, the most understandable question is, why would anyone still choose to become a bridge painter? For them, this is not just hard labor, but a trade that requires real skill. A good bridge painter has to know how to work at height, understand steel structures, control equipment, read weather conditions, and follow safety rules almost perfectly. They also need strong physical fitness, because every day involves carrying heavy equipment, climbing, standing for long periods, and working in uncomfortable positions. But in return, this is a job where they can see the result with their own eyes. A rusty, old, deteriorating bridge is gradually cleaned, covered with a new protective system, and sent back to serve the city for many more years. For many workers, that feeling creates a very personal kind of pride. They know they are doing something not many people dare to do, but something many people depend on. They may not be famous, may never be named, and may rarely appear in the newspaper. But without them, those massive steel bridges would quietly grow weaker day by day. The next time you drive across a steel bridge, try looking down at the frame beneath it. Somewhere there, a worker may once have stood on a suspended scaffold, surrounded by cold wind, fine dust, and the endless sound of traffic overhead. They are not just holding a paint sprayer to change the bridge's color. They are fighting rust, weather, road salt, moisture, and the slow passage of time that wears steel down. The job may sound simple, but behind it are height, chemicals, heavy equipment, safety pressure, and absolute focus. Bridge painter is the kind of job where, if they do it well, almost no one remembers them. But without them, the bridges we trust every day would weaken little by little. So if the pay were high enough, would you dare to hang beneath a bridge and do this job? Or would simply looking down be enough to make your legs shake?